Hello, and welcome back for the third video, where I'm going to talk to you about things that you can help with at home and strategies that you can use for transitions, bringing your child into a new environment, and engaging your sensory system in daily activities. This is so important because your child might receive therapy services a couple days a week, but you are the one who's at home with them and helping them to engage in activities every day. That means that you can make a great deal of difference in your child's everyday life by meeting their sensory needs at home. More than anyone else, parents can really make a huge difference in helping a child to integrate their sensory information day to day. With support and understanding from parents, children can really grow and live an amazing and full life. With that being said, there are 5 important things that parents can do to help their children reach their full potential. The first thing is to recognize the problem so that you know what your child needs. This is why we went over the sensory systems and the different types of sensory processing disorders. When you're familiar with the type of sensory challenges that your child has, then you can help to support them. Your therapist is also a great resource if you want to learn more about your child's specific needs because they know your child and have experience in identifying sensory differences. The second thing is to help your child feel good about themselves. Children with sensory challenges might develop feelings of frustration or inadequacy when they have difficulty performing certain tasks. Sometimes it takes a lot of patience to deal with behaviors that come as a result of sensory processing disorder. When this is difficult, try to remember that although you cannot see what is happening inside your child's brain, sensory dysfunction is as much a physical condition as a broken arm. When someone with a broken arm has a hard time completing a task, we tend to have a little bit more patience and grace because we know they have a broken arm and that they're trying. It's important to treat sensory processing disorders in the same way, with grace and patience, even when it's hard, because the truth is that these kids are really trying. It's important also to set expectations that are within your child's level of ability. If the child's having difficulty meeting demands of a task or environment, rather than criticizing or just telling them to do it, you can empathize with them by saying, "I know that this is hard, isn't it?" This helps the child to feel understood rather than bad about their performance. Another way to build confidence in your child is to comment on the positive things that they do and be specific. For example, rather than just saying "good job," you can say "good job cleaning up your toys when I asked you to," or "that was very nice when you apologized to your friend." When you're specific with your feedback or comments, it helps the child to understand exactly what thing they did that is positive, and it builds self-confidence and the belief that they are capable of success. The third thing you can do is control the home environment. It is so important for the home to be a safe and controlled environment for a child because they spend a huge portion of their day-to-day life at home, while therapy can only provide a few hours of sensory input per week. An organized environment helps to promote an organized brain. Organization is centered on time and place, so teaching older children to organize time and objects in a space can help them to compensate for disorganization in the brain. Also, learning to respect your child's response to sensory input is important when thinking about how to set up their environment. So we're going to look at some specific things to take into consideration based on the specific sensory systems. First, let's look at the tactile system. The things in the environment that touch a child's skin have the greatest effect on their nervous system, whether positive or negative. And not everyone perceives touch the same way. What might feel comfortable to you might feel very uncomfortable to someone else when it comes to type of touch, where the touch is coming from, or even with different textures. The best thing to do is to watch and listen to your child's responses. If they have a negative reaction to something, it might even be a clue that the child needs some additional tactile input that is comforting. Similarly, when it comes to vestibular and proprioceptive input, children's responses to movement can be varied. Some kids love it and others can only tolerate a small amount. If a child is seeking movement, provide an environment for them to do so. This is organizing for their nervous system. Even household chores can help with this if they involve lifting, carrying, or pushing things such as taking out the trash or carrying a load of laundry. If a child does not enjoy movement activities, they are probably the ones who need it most. But it is important for them to engage on their own rather than forcing them to participate in these activities. The best thing to do is to create opportunities for movement and simplify it so the child feels successful and gains confidence, which will encourage them to try more types of movement in the future. With auditory and olfactory input, some children can be very oversensitive to certain sounds or smells in the home, which makes it really difficult for them to be regulated. Loud sounds such as other children yelling or playing or the sound of a fire truck going by can be really distressing, so it might be helpful in these situations to keep windows and doors closed or to bring the child into a different room that is further away from the sound. Children who are over-responsive also might be very overwhelmed by smells that we don't often pay a lot of attention to throughout the day, such as odors from food, perfume or deodorant, beauty products, cleaning products, the toilet, or even exhaust from cars. So now I understand that it will not always be possible to predict and control every single smell or sound in the environment. But it's still important to acknowledge that the child who overreacts to these things just simply perceives the world a little bit differently. And if they are experiencing something that is overwhelming to them, it can be helpful for them to have a space to go with things that are comforting to make them feel more safe and to help with regulation. Another way to promote regulation at home is by being proactive and engaging the sensory systems throughout the day. One way to do this is by following a sensory diet. If you're unfamiliar with what a sensory diet is, it is a schedule, typically provided by a therapist, which explains activities that a child should participate in throughout the day in order to get the sensory input that they need. If you are interested in this, talk to your therapist to see if your child would benefit from one, because these are tailored to your child's specific needs. However, even if your child does not follow a specific sensory diet, you can still help them to receive the sensory input that they need throughout the day. Here are some things that you can do throughout the day to help provide sensory input for your child according to their needs. If your child needs auditory input, it might be helpful to listen to music while completing daily tasks or seated activities. Allow them to engage with musical instruments or toys, and connect movement activities with sound, such as yoga or dancing to a song. And if your child is overwhelmed by loud environments, you might consider using noise-canceling headphones or having a quiet time scheduled into the day. For children who need oral input, you can have them blow bubbles, blow on whistles or other instruments, chew gum or other chewy foods, or drink water or applesauce through a straw. If you notice your child is placing objects in their mouth, you can also provide them with an alternative safe chewy device. For children with visual perception challenges, helpful activities to try at home are puzzles, building things by copying a model, books like I Spy or Where's Waldo, or mazes. You can also have them engage in hand-to-eye coordination tasks such as throwing a ball at a target, playing catch, or doing craft activities like lacing or stitching. For those with visual discrimination disorder, it is helpful to decrease the clutter or busyness of the environment. For proprioceptive input, provide your child with deep pressure. You can use weighted blankets or lap pads, bear hugs, and massages. Also, provide your child with big movement activities such as crawling, jumping, and pulling. They can do jumping jacks, jump on the trampoline, or pull a wagon or a laundry basket with a rope. You can also have your child perform animal walks like bear walks, crab walks, wheelbarrows, frog jumps, bunny hops, etc. To engage the tactile system, you can offer various sensory bins for your child to play in, using corn, rice, beans, or oatmeal. Also, try and encourage messy play activities. You can use shaving cream, finger paint, or soap paint to do this. Use vibrating toys, especially on the hands and feet. For a child with tactile defensiveness, firm touch is often more accepted than light touch. With these children, use weighted activities or tight squeezes with pillows or blankets, which can be calming for them. And for vestibular input, your child can participate in swinging at playgrounds or indoors, spinning on swings or an office chair, playing on a playground, balancing activities such as riding a bike or a scooter, hanging upside down on a yoga ball or on a chair or couch. doing activities that involve coordination of both sides of the body, and lying on their belly or propped up on their hands and knees while completing certain tasks like playing with toys or doing a puzzle or drawing. The fourth thing you can do is help your child learn how to play and explore. Like I mentioned in the last video, play is not just entertainment for a child. It is something that really promotes development in various areas, including social and communication skills, motor skills, and sensory integration. Now, a lot of parents understand how to play with a typically developing child, but when it comes to a child with sensory processing challenges, things can get a little more difficult. The thing about play is that completing a task or doing an activity is not really as important as the child's active engagement and their inner drive to master their body and the environment. What makes play fun is the sensory input that they get from participating in it, and the more sensory information that they take in, the more that they develop. So how can you help a child to play in a way that promotes this development? Well, encouragement and emotional support go a long way, especially because children with sensory challenges often feel a sense of inadequacy when they mess up or when they don't understand something. They want to feel supported and believe that they can be successful. And when they are struggling, they want you to show some concern, but try to encourage them to keep trying rather than solving their problems for them or telling them what they should do, because remember, play should be child-directed. You can help them explore different things by physically showing them various ways to use toys. You can encourage them by making positive comments about their playing skills. And you can use pretend play and imagination to engage them in trying new things. And like I mentioned before, try and be patient with your child, even when it takes a long time to master a skill. Some practical methods to engage your child in fun, sensory-based play include making an obstacle course. This typically provides a lot of vestibular and proprioceptive input, especially when they have to climb, jump, crash, balance, or crawl. You can even change up the course every time they go through it so that they have to change up their movements. Another game you can play, which requires no setup at all, is hide and seek. This challenges the child's space perception and body awareness because they have to find a place to hide that fits their body. Hopscotch is another great game that is good for working on balance and motor planning skills. A beanbag toss or a ball toss can be good for working on hand-eye coordination. Other activities that encourage whole body movement include riding a bike or a tricycle, pulling a wagon, jumping rope, sliding, riding a rocking horse, or playing on jungle gyms. To help with motor planning, games like Simon Says or following along to the motions of a song can be great. You can have your child do tasks that require timing out body movements, such as kicking a rolled ball or hitting a ball with a bat or jumping rope. Verbally planning the steps of an activity before doing it, such as how to make a sandwich, a craft, or going through an obstacle course, can also be helpful. And play does not always have to take place with toys either. You can allow your child to explore different uses for common household objects, such as boxes, foam padding, plastic bottles, pillows, spoons, etc. This provides a chance for them to use their imagination and to explore different uses for objects. The fifth thing is to take advantage of service and professionals that can help. The good thing is that if you are watching this video, you are more than likely already receiving some form of services, whether it be occupational therapy, speech therapy, or both. So you're going in the right direction. I would encourage you also to maintain a good relationship with your therapist and to be very open with questions or concerns because they are highly trained and knowledgeable about your child's specific needs. Also, do not underestimate the potential in the early years of development. The earlier a child receives services, the more flexible and easy it is to influence the brain's development. Also, the child will develop a greater ability to cope with learning and emotional demands that come up across their entire life. When you are receiving services, something that is also important is learning to advocate for your child in other settings, such as with schools. School teachers and physical educators are trained to teach skills, but they're not necessarily trained in recognizing dysfunction in the brain. If a child's sensory challenges are causing difficulty in school, they may need additional supports. These are likely available if the school is aware of the need. So, as a parent, it is important to educate others about your child's specific sensory needs so that they can be supported across different environments. Okay, so we're going to switch gears here and talk about some other strategies to use during times of transition. Sometimes, with sensory processing disorders, children can develop inflexibility or difficulty transitioning between tasks or environments. This can cause a lot of anxiety and dysregulation because the thought of change can be very overwhelming. If a child is stuck on something or having a hard time transitioning, it is important to help them to regulate before expecting them to do what you are asking. A-Secret is an acronym to assist you in figuring out how you can help regulate before a transition. Let's start with attention. Ask yourself, can I draw this child's attention to something or away from something that will promote regulation? Sensation. Is there a sensation that I can provide or take away that will promote regulation? Environment. Is there something about the environment that I can change to support regulation? Culture. Is there something about the culture of the people, environment, or situation that does not support my child's regulation? Relationship. Is there something about this relationship that is impacting my child's regulation? Expectations. Are my expectations reasonable given my child's abilities and sensory challenges? Do I need to adjust my expectations? And finally, task. Is there something about the task that is contributing to my child's dysregulation? Is it too challenging, too easy, or maybe not engaging enough? So there we have it, A-Secret. So the next time you're trying to get your child to move on and they are struggling, consider these questions to help them to regulate first. Another thing that can be dysregulating for children is entering new environments or participating in new activities, such as starting school, extracurricular activities, or going to a public place. When bringing your child into a new environment, try to make things predictable for them. This makes the child feel like they have some control and are therefore safe. You can do this by talking to them about it first or using a social story to introduce the new environment. You can also use role-playing to practice encountering a new situation or new people. As a parent, it's also important to analyze the situation and know exactly what to expect in order to determine if the new environment will be beneficial for your child. When you or the child is interested in starting something new, consider asking these questions to whomever is in charge. What will the physical environment be like? Take into account the size and type of space. Is the area large or small? Enclosed or open? Indoors or outdoors? Are there going to be echoes in the room? Is it a public space or a private space? You can also ask how many children or people will be there, and will there be a lot of noise? This is important because those with tactile or auditory defensiveness might not enjoy being around a lot of people, especially if it is crowded or in a loud environment. You'll want to know what the expectations are for your child. Are there certain social expectations, such as taking turns, sharing, talking in front of others? What are the behavioral expectations? Are there physical demands that are too challenging or unsafe for a child with poor body awareness? Any expectations that are difficult for the child to meet are going to be very anxiety-provoking for them. Also, how far away will the parents be? Are parents expected to drop off the child versus come in? Is there a space for parents to sit? And if so, is it near the child or is it far away? Although it's healthy for a child to learn to separate from their parents, it can be helpful to have a safe or familiar person around when entering an unfamiliar space. And lastly, is there a space for my child to go if they do become overwhelmed? Is the area quiet? Is it sensory friendly? All of this is important as it relates to sensory information that will be taken in by the child while they are participating in the activity or engaging in this new environment. When it comes to new experiences, you want your child to try new things, but you don't want them to be so overwhelmed that they do not want to engage in other new activities down the road. Asking these questions and doing your best to prepare your child ahead of time will increase the opportunities for success. Alright, well I hope you enjoyed this video and learning all about different things that you can do to help engage and develop your child's sensory system. Between therapies, other supports, and your help at home, your child is likely set up for success and will better be able to engage in their environment and everyday activities. I'll see you next time. Bye!